All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Hi everybody, I'm Mitch Murbach, director for Aspire for 30 years, something like that now. And today we're going to talk about death.
Ooh.
And let's kick it off with a clip. What do you
say?
Okay,
yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
This is from Easy for You to Say.
We think that death is when a person ceases to exist in body, when their functions cease to exist. But that has nothing at all to do with the real death of a person. Please listen to me for a moment. As long as you and I believe that there is an end to our life, we will always be running all of our life from death. We will live in constant fear. And we'll look at our bodies as though they are the point and origin of all of life. And when we look at our body as the point and the origin of life, we miss the consciousness and the capacity of ourselves as a spiritual being. It may be true that humankind started out like this, but it doesn't mean that we started here and end here. This has nothing at all to do with life itself. This is just a vessel for life. The deepest experience of life is trying to happen within us, within the very depths of us, beyond our mind and beyond our body.
Wow. I like that guy. Ooh, yeah. So, our bodies, they are the result of my karma. We don't know where we are. Nobody wants to admit where they are. Look at the world we live in. You live in a world where your mother and your father, who are animals, okay, whose origins we know nothing about. I don't know their past and what their parents and all of that did. And we are put in, they get together, they have sex, probably irresponsibly, and then here I am. I wind up in the womb of this woman I know nothing about. I live in there. I just stayed in there for 9 months, absorbing God knows what. I have no idea. Energies, all sorts of genetic dispositions, prejudices, you know.
Even in the womb.
Even in the womb.
Wow.
So I pop out, and here I am, and I look around. The first thing they do is hit me to get me to breathe. You know, and then from there on out, it's one thing after another. Parents don't know how to love their children. They are only interested in how they're going to turn out. Will they survive? So they do all sorts of terrible things to these children that they never think about what will defame their soul, defame their process of really being here. Buddha talked about our bodies as just these petulant entities that get sick and die. And if you look at Buddha, I mean, he was a total failure, if you look at it, because he went into the work, into transformation to get rid of old age, sickness, and death, the three things that happened to him. Mm-hmm. He got old, he got sick, and he died. So you look at the way people are and how they live in their body. I pay deep attention to how my students live in their bodies, more than they think I am. And luckily, they're so numb, they don't see what I'm observing. And when I call them on it and say, well, they'll say, well, why did this happen to me? I don't do. And I go, well, do you understand how you've lived in your body? Do you understand the world you're in? At any minute, any one of us could die. We live in a bunch of lying, cheating thieves. We're pirates here in the West. We don't have any problems stealing, lying, cheating, whatever, killing. We love killing. We watch movies. We will pay money to watch people get killed. You go by an accident on the freeway, everybody's very slow. They want to see every little nuance of what we don't really understand where we are. This is not nirvana, and it never was meant to be nirvana. Nirvana lives in here, not out there. And so the human body, we use it for sex, we use it to allure people. All my elderly students, such as myself, they all mention this one thing, and I think it's funny. They'll say, young people don't look at them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
they
don't exist.
Yeah, you don't exist. I won't get there. I will never be that old. You know, I live in the land.
Hollywood does the same thing, you know?
Yeah, yes, Hollywood does the same thing. I live in the land of Clint Eastwood, you know, and every so often you'll see him around in town. And, you know, when you see him, there isn't anything about what you see now that would make your day. You know, I can tell you that, you know. And I look at it and I think, gee, it's too bad you didn't do anything when I'm looking at people in general, that you didn't do anything with your life. It is amazing to me how people will live just from their body. When is it time to eat? When is it time to pee? When is it time to poop? And when is my TV show on? And that's what it gets down to. Just getting through.
Right. Well, and you know, all these things you're saying about the body and all the stuff that it stores and the way it responds and ages and it gets sick and all that stuff. Well, then why are people afraid to die? Why are they afraid to drop all of that?
That's an interesting question. There's a point in which a person stops living inside. And usually it's around 8 years old, 9 years old. For girls, maybe 11, but with men, mainly 8 to 11 in that area. Everything stops. And that's the way I am. I've come to the conclusion, this is the way I am. And when I look in the mirror and I don't know that person anymore, then I ignore. Or I'll try to put some color in my hair or whatever, grow a beard or whatever. And women, they get boob jobs and face jobs and all of that. Trying to stay young. We don't know how to gracefully grow into old age and die. And the reason we want to stay alive is because we don't want anything to change. We haven't changed. We have no grasp of where we are. We have no grasp. Look where you are. You're in a very, very cruel, very primitive world. Very. And it's eat or be eaten.
Well, as a child, you don't really have the opportunity to stay in an awakened space unless you're raised by someone who is awakened, right? To give you a better framing of everything.
I think you have to be, forgive me, you have to be born with this. When I was a kid, everybody would be playing baseball, and I'd be out in center field or something, and I would start looking at the game and all of this, and I'd ask myself, why am I here? And I'd just walk off the field, literally, and go to my house. I had built a little fort, and I'd go into my little fort and sit there and think, why am I me? And why do I have the thoughts I have? And why can't they be like anyone else's? Why are my thoughts my thoughts? That used to trouble me for a long time. Still does in some ways when I look at what he wants to think. Until I learned how to go into third person, separate, lift and separate, and get beyond Greg. But I think you have to be born into. I don't think a parent can sit down and say, "Now, honey, you have a soul, and you have a heart. We have to learn to meditate together." I don't think.
Okay.
That's going to happen.
Let's look at this clip about reincarnation, because
Okay.
that folds right into that. I
Okay.
think. So
By the way, none of this is planned.
Now, there are many people who want to argue the idea of reincarnation and all of that, and I am not interested in those theories of reincarnation, whether it exists or does not exist. That is something that I'm not concerned with, because I am here and now, and you are here and now. Our concern should not be to try to figure out where we're going to be when we die. That is none of our business at this point, and I know that is a major point of religion. Religion uses the idea of where you're going to end up when you die as its kind of trigger, its emphasis for getting you into the flock, so to speak. But it is my feeling that we should not be concerned about what happens to us after death. I think we should be concerned about what's happening to us in life. Before you and I get into one of these things, There is going to be a point in our life where we're going to want to understand exactly who we are and what we're all about. Believe it or not, the only time we ever really question our life or begin to appreciate it is when we're approaching one of these things. It's the saddest and yet realest part of us, and it's an interesting psychological phenomenon that I've seen in people, that the only time they appreciate life is when they're just about ready to lose it.
Boy, is that guy, whoever that is, knew. Yeah.
And great mullet too.
Yeah.
All right, do you still feel the same way?
Yeah. I don't talk about reincarnation with my students. I accept it. I tell them, you're going into another life. You are. And you're going to bring whatever you did or didn't do here into that life. And that life is about consequence. And the consequences aren't punishment. It isn't about reward and punishment at all. The kind of life experience that I'm going to have is the life experience I'm having in here. And it's not about punishment and reward. This is, you get what you get, because that's what you are. And if you don't wake up to that and go, well, wait a minute, if I change the way I am on the inside, then I have a chance for something different. But if I just stay the same, I'll never know. And the idea, this arrogant, narcissistic idea that we have, that we're going somewhere and meet our families, and we just stay the same. We're wearing the same jeans and t-shirt and all that. And hi, Uncle, Steve, how are you? Haven't seen you in a long time.
For eternity.
Yeah.
For eternity.
Yeah. And we're in a fraternity for eternity. And that to me is so childish and idiotic. But that's where we are. We're in a world filled with those kind of people who need constant reassurance about their life and themselves, and they don't want to go beyond the perimeter of that small mind that says, well, heaven would be just like this. Coming into San Diego for this trip to do the workshop and the shoot, there was a sign on this bridge that says, Jesus or hell. And I just thought, isn't that interesting? Jesus or hell. The guy, he didn't stand a chance, poor Jesus. It just, oh God.
He's a poster child now.
He's a poster. We reduce everything down to the narcissism of our brain. And then we become nihilistic. And nowadays, everybody's a nihilist. They don't believe in anything. When you die, fade to black and you're gone. Mm-hmm. That is very convenient.
Hence bucket lists and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You got to get all this done.
Yeah, before you die.
Time's ticking.
Yeah, and then when you get it all done and you die, what will that all mean? Nothing, because you're, according
You're
to
dead.
nihilist, you fade to black, it's over. But it's a continuum. And the respect you have for your life is shown by how you want to step out of your thoughts, step out of your emotions, step out of this body before you actually leave it. And that's what an authentic spiritual practice is about, is leaving your body, living in the body but not of it. Jesus, Buddha talked about that fine line that we walk, to live in the world but not let the world live in us. That's where our attention should be. So I don't care about the reincarnation thing with people. Now we're getting into a debate. I don't want to get into debates with people.
Okay, then, but what is a soul then?
That is something to discover, isn't it? You ask me questions like my students do. They're very intelligent. I get it. How do you describe the fragrance of a lotus blossom in the West? You have to go see that lotus blossom in the East to see it, to smell it, can't be done. It just can't. A soul is a fragrance. It's an essence. It's what really exists. And people are soulless. They don't know it. They live soullessly. They have no soul. They don't have any character at all. So they can't have a soul because they have no character. They would do anything to aggrandize themselves for self-righteousness. That's all they care about, is being right. All the time. Everybody's right. So the idea, a soul is something you merge into, you ascend into, that you transcend into. And what it is unearthly. Again, it's one of those things that I find inexplicable.
Okay.
It lives in me, it lives in you. It is found through love, real love. And it is love personified. But what does that mean to anybody? Nothing. I mean, anything I say, and one of the reasons why, Aspires at kind of ending, is because it's not relevant to the average person. The average person is a nihilist. They don't care. They're joining the whole thing of a lack of character and getting what they can get before they die. It's a race. And that's why we're afraid of dying, because we want to keep this going. I want to keep having fun. I hear people say, well, isn't that what life's all about, having fun? No, it's not. There's so much more to it. It's about facing the consequences of me and what I did to myself during the course of my lifetime. And when I thought, well, nobody's looking, I'll take on this negative thought, or I'll take on that positive thought, or I'll ignore meditation, or I'll, nobody will know, but, I'm going to pass up this homeless guy and not give him a few bucks. Things like that. Just little things like that. It's the little things that get us. We just want to keep the ball rolling. Because if the ball stops, then I don't exist anymore. And if I don't exist anymore, then what is there? The only thing that Greg knows is what Greg thinks. The only thing Greg knows is what he sees out here and interprets. That's the only thing he knows. And he doesn't want that changed. He thinks he sees you like, if I were doing this for real, which I am, he thinks he sees you. And he thinks who you are. And it's based on his prejudices and his animosities, all towards himself, not you. Because you're not really sitting there like Mitch. I only think you are. And that's just more than people can bear. So you're a figment of Greg's assumptive beliefs that he has. And if you say the right things, then I think I like you. If you say the wrong things, then I think I don't like you. And I'm going to put a plug in here while we're doing this.
Yeah.
People need to read 3 books. They need to read Sapiens. They need to read Homo Deus, all by Vihari. And they need to read Behave by Robert Sapolsky.
Okay.
You read those 3 books, if you can get through them, you get a real big overview about, now science is discovering we don't have any choices. You don't have a choice. Your brain is going to do what your brain's going to do based on the chemicals in it. And your brain is going to be prejudicial towards certain people, and you won't know why. You meet somebody, you go, I like them. You don't know why. It's because of all of the chemicals in the back of our brain.
Right.
And nobody wants to if you're going to live by the body, you're going to die by the body. If you live by the soul, you'll never die. But you have to go beyond your body and all of the impulses that your body is producing constantly. And they're producing it right now with you and me. You're sitting there going, oh my God. And then we have, Star Wars. And you can't really help people. This is why the Beatitudes, I think, were so important. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The person who doesn't know it all. Jesus was way ahead of his day, and that's why he got killed. Think of this. You live in a world where people who could advance the civilization all get killed. Started with Jesus, let's say. Buddha couldn't go into major cities. He would have been killed. So he had to go and live in the forest. His brother and his family was trying to kill him. Okay? So you got all that.
Because he wasn't fulfilling his duties.
Yes. They wanted him to
prince.
be king. That's right. You're absolutely right. Then you go a little further and you see Gandhi. He got killed. What for what? Sadat, he was turning and they killed him. He was really trying to do some great things. And then you have Bobby, Martin, and John. We don't have those anymore because people don't, they go, I don't want to be getting politics or anything like that. I get killed. I, at the end of my career in Escondido, had to wear a bulletproof vest. I was getting
remember.
all, you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah. And I had death threats all the time. And then they were vandalizing the building and everything, and I just decided I'll go solo.
Well, talking about not seeing each other as we really are, you know,
Yeah.
having all these preconceived notions about what reality is.
Yeah.
Even. I heard an interesting phrase the other day that we are all eyes in the same mind, the same brain, same head. Does that bear anything to you? Does that trigger anything?
It could be if the head is the collective, unconscious, yes. Okay? We only see each other out of the collective.
Right.
You remember when you were a little boy and you did something that was wrong and you didn't know it was wrong? Just seemed natural to you.
Oh, yeah, and you're surprised.
Yeah.
What did I...
Yeah,
that
what
was
did I
bad?
do? That whole situation is what formed your personality, your paranoia, your desire, your self-esteem to please other people so you wouldn't get in trouble. And that's what a lot of people have. Low self-esteem is a big problem, but you can't, I don't care what the psychologists say and all that, you can't cure it. Yeah, a person would have to transcend it. And that would mean I'd have to look at Greg, which I did, and I go, you know, you're a mischief maker, and you really don't know what's going on. You've been troubled about being in this body for a long time. Let's explore what's outside of it. And by going outside, I had to go inside. You know what I mean? Beyond Greg. And believe me, it's now I love everybody. I really don't care. And if my enemy wants to hurt me, let him hurt me. I don't care. It doesn't matter because we're all going to die anyway. It's just how we die inside that matters. A lot of people are dead now.
Right. Well, you work with a lot of people in hospice that are on death's doorstep, so to speak. And
Yeah, I do.
So how do you help them in sort of a spiritual process of shedding their body and letting go and being okay with it?
God, years ago, you know, you could talk to them. And I don't think I've ever really helped anybody shed. I really don't. I go there as a comfort and as a service to them. By the time they're in that place, they're either Catholic or Mormon or Baptist or Jewish or whatever. They don't want to hear anything I have to say. And so I don't impose that upon them. I'm there to hold their hand and hear what they have to. I'm a confessional. And they all have something. But now with the modern day drugs that are available, most of my work, they're knocked out. They're goners. They don't even know they're dying.
Right. Okay.
So you know who I deal with? The living. And you would be surprised. I walk into the room. I do house calls, not, I don't go to the hospital. There's the TV, and they're, watching a soap opera while this person is dying, and it's their mother or their father, and they're knocked out, and they're talking about who's going to get the money.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, yeah.
That's terrible.
Oh, no. This is
Gosh.
and then they fight, and I tell them, why don't we go outside and turn off the TV? That was Mom's favorite show. We're not turning that off, as the stomach turns or something,
Right.
And it's totally changed over the years.
Oh.
I rarely get to talk to the person. Maybe I see them once when they're cognate.
Because, again, they're afraid to die, and they want to get the drugs, and they want to just let
It's not only that, but they're in pain.
The pain, too, yeah.
They're in a great deal of pain. I've helped my students die, and there's no difference between them and anyone else. You would think there would be, but there isn't. There isn't. What do you think I'll incarnate into? A moose? Maybe a moose or something. I don't know. That's not the point of it all.
Right.
You know, didn't we do a series about
What's
that?
the point of it all? That's a good series, too. You should check it out.
Yeah, we did do that. We've done almost everything. So, you know, I do the best I can with the people that are around me, and I don't take it personally. In the beginning of my career, I took all that personally. Now I understand everybody has to be where they are. And, you know, the hell they go through at death, or the heaven they go through at death, is up to them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's, you know, what they do in death, they could have done in their life. And they don't do it. Oh, well, you know, I'll do it later.
Yeah. Well, what's the worst kind of death then? And are there other kinds of death? I mean,
The worst death is to go with vengeance and pride. The best death is surrender to love. And death is just but one of those things that is a part of love, and to surrender into it. And it is an amazing experience. It's, you know, one of my students said this, and he was so right. We have a little luncheon that we do with just the guys in the group. And we sat down to this restaurant. He looked at me. We talk about our practice and everything, and he said, "Isn't it wonderful that when the testosterone ceases, you can see over the hill?" Do you understand what he meant? You can see what's really going on. Because the body is throwing all these chemicals at us.
Mm-hmm.
And testosterone is one of those things where we get extremely violent, aggressive. And what he's saying is, his wife died, and he was there, and she was drugged out, and so because she was in pain. But there was no anything, you know, for them to have any kind of, "Gee, honey, I'm sorry," kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's sad.
Well, it's the way it is.
Yeah.
And what does sorry mean at death? I wish I had done. It's more of regret, not remorse.
Right.
You know, there's a difference there. So I regret I was so difficult to live with. But thank you for paying for all the bills. And that's it.
Right. Well, thank you. This has been a very interesting discussion this morning. And
Not something we did on Aspire, huh?
No,
We never went this far.
that's for sure.
No.
And I hope that you guys have gleaned some insights and that you can apply it to your life in whatever way makes sense for you.
Hopefully.
And stay tuned. We're going to have another great episode coming right up really soon. Thank you.
You're welcome.